Happy, what the hell is it? Wednesday morning, Wednesday the 26th. We are back at it again. I said I was going to do these more often, but I didn't expect to be back here 24 hours later with more news. But apparently, Zazov and crew want to keep us dancing on hot coals. At 24 hours, pretty much after we were celebrating the return of Henry Cavill as our Superman after nearly a 6-year absence. This afternoon on several major platforms, one of them being the Variety, Hollywood Reporter. We have new bosses at DC Studios for the first time in a while. Actually, we had our Walter Hamada outgoing recently, and this announcement kind of came out of nowhere. I know there were some people who had pegged James Gunn as the eventual DC head, and they ended up getting it somewhat right for the most part. The reason why I didn't expect it to be James Gunn because he's just not a studio head. He is not a studio executive. He's a filmmaker. However, he will be writing co-pilot with Peter Safran, who has operated an executive level at a high level for quite some time and has a very extensive resume. And once you throw that name in there, now that is a combination. I think that is a winning combination. I've been listening off and on because I've been busy. I'm seeing other people's responses to it. Some really great. Some of them, if you found any negative, in my opinion, this is my opinion, and the news today, it was because you were looking for it. I've seen opinions across the board to where, oh no, it's going to be dick jokes and just silliness like that. And, all the way down to you knew it was going to come up. Well, what's going to go on tonight is the Snyderverse. And I've seen all the silly RIP Snyderverse tweets and some people have done streams on it. And it's just all you guys are doing is providing me comedy, really. I'll answer that question out right off the bat before we get into the details. What does this mean? And this is coming from a Snyder fan. A lot of people brought up and went straight to and asked the extremists and people like that weren't going to be happy with anything. But nobody ever asked the moderates, the people who make up the vast majority of us. And what it means is, at this point, nothing. On October 26th, 12:09 a.m., James Gunn and Peter Safran being named new studio heads of DC Films or DC Studios now means nothing in regards to Snyder, one way or another. I don't even know why it was even attached so much to the news today because it really wasn't about that. Right now, we have a lot of people coming into their positions. We have a lot of people who have influence, a lot of people who thought, The Rock or Hiram Garcia were going to be the studio heads. That was never going to happen. Even when The Rock was asked about it, he even backed up and said, wait a minute, basically, my best performance or my best role with DC is as an advisor. I don't think Rock wants the constraints of being a studio head and having that kind of boss, even if it's high up. He has his own production company. He has his own structure. He basically wants to do whatever he wants. And that, I don't think being a studio head, there's just a lot of constraints because you still do have a boss. You have David Zaslav as your boss, and you have a lot of stockholder pressure. So I think the freedom of $7 Studios affords him. I don't think he was ever going to give that up. And I heard a lot of rumors about that. And a lot of people were saying that, if Black Adam had opened higher than 67 million, which for a B or C character was pretty good, that he would have had the position. And that's just stupid, in my opinion. That's just me. But right now, in regards to that content that we've had before, nothing. I mean, let's say, for instance, depending on what version of our past DC that they consider canon, both the 2017 release and 2021 Zack Snyder Justice League ended in a way that if you wanted to ever revisit the Dark Side story, and you should, not just for credibility issues, but Dark Side is one of the handful of characters that is a unifying character that you can build up to. You can. You have time. You don't have to do anything tomorrow. We don't have to address anything tomorrow. Let these two guys get in there and survey the field, take stock on what they have. Once again, these guys are coming in at a point where they're inheriting movies. They're not making their own movies yet. They're inheriting the same movies that Zaslav inherited: Aquaman, The Flash, um, Shazam is coming up. These are all movies that were done under a previous regime. So they have time to lay their own course, and to gather the data that way. But I am more than happy with this combination. I knew who Peter Safran was from his dealings with DC for the last 10 years. He's been a producer on some of the more successful stuff that DC's had. And I always wondered what he could do with real oversight. And you can't really judge a lot of the stuff that's happened in the last 5 or 6 years because of what the oversight was. But now we have a studio, and James Gunn, as far as I can, am concerned, is one of the better storytellers out there right now. I know a lot of people may not like his style, but understand a storyteller is a storyteller. Period. James Gunn is just as capable of telling a different type of story as he is the one that you've seen. And I'm going to give an example of a storyteller being able to do just whatever is called on. Jonathan Demme. Look at his history. Look at the list of movies: Married to the Mob, all kinds of movies that you would not expect from a guy who would 3 years later go on to produce and direct an Academy Award-winning all-time best serial killer movie of all time in Silence of the Lamb. The same guy who did Married to the Mob did Silence of the Lamb. So once you have a storyteller dynamic and you know how to tell a story, you can tell just about any story that is called on you to do so. But I think he's going to be in an oversight executive producer occupation. So I really a capacity. So I think he'll be fine. Like I said, I think that his vision is a lot broader than what we've seen so far, because that's what kind of movies he's made. But I enjoyed some of his stuff. So, but in regards to Peter Safran, his resume says it all. I didn't think he was in the running. I hadn't heard his name brought up. We had heard Dan Lin, and we had heard a few other people, but his was the one. And now that you think about it, is actually a great choice. So I think the company is in good hands. I think the restructuring and having it answerable directly to David Zaslav as an equal component within Warner Discovery is, I think, that's another good thing. So I'm happy with it. Like I said, I saw a lot of reactions. I watched a lot of shows today, as much as I could, and some of the reactions range from common sense to absolute bonehead reactions. But like I said, I'm not going to dwell on some of that. And some of the people who, with the bonehead reactions, have lots and lots and lots of followers and operate in a stratosphere way higher than a lot of us little guys do, and should know better, but spewed out a bunch of garbage anyway. But like I said, we're gonna focus on the positive of it. Like I said, if you're a fan of the DC storytelling apparatus, you've been eating good these last 48 hours. So let me say hi to the chat and all the people who are Stella. Please hit like and like the stream. Subscribe to my channel. Like I said, my little channel is growing. It's a little train that could. It's going uphill. Like I said, we're doing more and more stuff on that channel. I'm live streaming on this one right now, simply because this time of night, it's easier to check that box. And but we're gonna, once the holidays come, we're going to do a lot with our channels in regards to really 5 and 10 minute short take content. But right now, there's just a lot of news to cover, so we're using this format to do it in. So yay. It's it's just going to be a little bit. I'm going to try to control myself. I'm going to try to control myself and wrap this up inside of an hour. I have to set in countermeasures, and if I bring you on, we'll be here till 4:00 in the morning. I can't do it again. But yeah, as we start doing this more and more, and I get structured content in, and we're just covering breaking news, I'm going to add in co-hosts and stuff like that. Simply because the shows will get longer. And it is really hard to be the only one talking for 3 and 4 hours. It's really tough. It's hard to be the ones talking when I just have you on there. It's parched right there. William said it was a dumb idea. I said, nah, screw you, man. What did he say? Why can't I block him from being in here? Oh well, never mind. I don't know what you're referring to. If you're referring to, I think Brodan was one of the people who was talking about James Gunn on his own without Peter Safran. Yeah, it would have been a dumb idea. As much respect as I have for James Gunn, he's not a studio head. There's just more to it than just knowing how to direct and produce movies. You had to have had operated at a level that is talking about budgets. You're talking about not just budgets for your films, budgets for several films, telling a storyline over several films, getting financiers involved, getting sponsors involved, getting all kinds of people that are hiring producers, hiring directors, switching budgets from one project to another, negotiations and stuff like that, contract negotiations with Star Power. There's a lot that goes in it, and a lot of directors, to be honest with you, just don't want to deal with that. So it's not the fact that James Gunn probably couldn't adapt to that over time. I think it would have taken more time than Zaslav had or anybody would want to take. But with Peter Safran involved, he doesn't have to be that guy. He can be the creative director while the other guy is doing the executive. So yeah, on its own, if it was just James Gunn, I think it would be a horrible idea. But the both of them together to be able to run, counter of each other and not, be able to work to their expertise, I think it's a great pairing. And I think there's nothing but good that can come out of it. So if that was what you're referring to, Vince, how you doing? Yeah, they're in good shape. It's getting there. It's getting there. It's like I said, we're taking one Lego brick at a time, and it's just important that just as these guys enter the fray, not to dump a bunch of shit on them to the point where it's like, we got to get this, we got to get that. I hope they do this. They better do that. No, what they better do is take their time. Take their time, and look at what's happened before. There's no need to rush here. Tweak and do what you can with these inherited movies that you have, and prime yourself for the very moment that you get a chance to do and produce and greenlight movies of your own. Because just about everything they have right now is greenlight by people that were no longer there. That's why when people tell me that Shazam, oh, the world is going to end if Shazam doesn't make this amount of money. Listen, Warner Discovery, Zaslav, and Alan Horn, they've proven that they're not a bunch of dummies. And that is stupid speak. There is no way in hell that anything is going to be based on a movie that they didn't have their hands on until very late in the game, after it was already done, that they had to come in behind and add advertising campaigns to, that they didn't write the script for, they didn't approve the script for, they didn't edit the script for. They had nothing to do with this movie going in. All right. They didn't finance this movie. They did nothing to do. This movie was handed to them. And it was handed to them with not just a B character, but a villain subsidiary of a B character. So when you take, like I said, when you take all these things into account, now when you're talking about the money and everything else, everything that can be improved upon whatever Black Adam does, the improvement is already there. The fact that it's a new regime is already there is your number one improvement. The fact that when The Rock comes back to you and says, hey, can we do this? He won't have 5 to 6 years of no's that slow him down and hinder his movie. When he puts together maybe a weak script or weak story, we're going to have guys like James Gunn. We're going to have guys like Safran who have producers and editors that are looking at it and say, you know what? We like where you're going, but try this out. Let's fill in these holes here. So you're going to have right out of the gate, you're going to have a better infrastructure for these movies to come out. And if you had that oversight, there's a lot of movies that DC has put out in the last 3 or 4 years that could have been augmented and better if we had the structure that was just in place today. They haven't had that. So I'm happy. I think DC is finally in good shape, and I'm looking forward. And like I said, we're leaving the what the hell is this stage and arriving at the what's next stage, and that's a good feeling to have. All right, I'll join members when I have a few bucks. Okay, I'm pretty sure Enosh will appreciate that. Hey, Anthony, how you doing from down under? As long as you're not driving any heavy equipment. I don't want to be responsible for anybody anybody getting, or you're not out in the outback. I want you paying attention because there's a lot of stuff out there that can grab you and carry you off. So be careful out there. Yes, this is very big news. I was not expecting this news today, and like I said, I was not expecting Peter Safran, even though I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't wrap my head. He's more than qualified for this. So I'm happy we got somebody in there. How you doing, Jared? My cat's pressing buttons. Okay. All right. Crime Corgi. Interesting name. Gunn worked with Snyder on Dawn of the Dead. Snyder helped Gunn on Peacemaker. Gunn can do the favor and bring Snyder back and have a plan together. Gunn can't be direct. Gunn, I don't think Gunn is going to be directing every movie. And if you read the article, and I might even be bringing it up here, he is going to be basically an executive. He's going to be a co-studio head. He has the option to direct his own stuff every now and then, but for the most part, he is one of the top guys now. He is the co-pilot alongside with Safran. So yes, he's going to be basically an executive producer. He's going to be the executive producer on all the projects that he's over, along with Peter Safran. As far as Snyder goes, listen, everything that they're doing now is creating an environment for people to come and be a part of that. Whether that includes Snyder, I don't know. Or people that are under Snyder's tutelage. Remember, Snyder has his own production company. It doesn't have to be directly him. If it is him at all, he can send people from Stone Quarry to produce and direct things if it comes to that. As far as when people say Snyder and Snyder Returns, as somebody who wants to see the end of the Snyder arc, which when you say restore the Snyderverse, you're really saying conclude that storyline, because everything else is already there. All of the actors that he casted are already there, are already in their roles, including the biggest one, which is Henry Cavill. So the only thing that's left for people to want is the conclusion to that storyline, because Zach was never going to, from what I can understand, and I've watched a lot of interviews, there are people in my association now that have a little bit more access to him, but I never got the sense that he was going to just be stuck making a bunch of superhero movies. Nothing against superhero movies. I'm biased. However, he makes other types of movies too. He makes science fiction. He makes fantasy. But because we never got closure to that storyline, we've allowed that once again to become the boogeyman. When really, if he would have hadn't been interfered with, we would have been done already. He would have moved on. I highly doubt that if Zack Snyder had been able to finish his 5-story arc, that he would be an executive producer on some of these things, but they would have been taken over like they were designed to do. Aquaman was always going to be his movies were always going to be James Wan. Patty Jenkins was always going to do Wonder Woman, and Muschietti was one of the names. I know there was names before him, but those scripts were supposed to run independent of what Zack Snyder was doing. But because we never got a proper end to that storyline, it left the door open, and monsters have walked through that door and created this big giant thing. So, and what you also have to realize is that it's not 2017 anymore. The movie industry and this story has evolved to the point where even a guy like me who wants to see the end of that Earth War saga with Darkseid needs to understand that there are a lot of other components in place that would have to run alongside of. Even if we got it a year and a half to 2 years down the line, and even if it's not Zack Snyder, we have to let James Gunn and Safran come in and establish the groundwork to rebuild DC's credibility before we start traveling down that road that could lead to that. So I always say patience and common sense. And right now, patience is key. Patience is key. Don't bombard these guys with a bunch of BS. Give them the space to produce good stuff. And I think they can. There's a lot of people out there that might doubt them, but you know what? I don't see anything in either one of their resumes that say that they cannot do this job. So that's just me. So, yeah. All right, Ryan, Don for Hope, DCU, Cinemax. Hey, William, I love the moment defending the real Snyder fans earlier. Yeah, man. Listen, I understand that there are people out there that do and say stupid stuff, but there's also the majority of us, and that's me. I don't say and do stupid things. And when I'm on somebody's stream and the words are coming out, I wonder what the Snyder fans are going to say. Well, I'm literally on the screen. We don't need to go searching for what a Snyder fan is going to say. I'm literally on the screen. But what happens sometimes is they don't want the plane landing safely answer. They want the plane crash answer. All right. So, and when they can't get that plane crash answer, then they start creating streams and tweets and stuff to trigger people and bring out the answers and the responses that they want sometimes, instead of asking me, somebody who and sometimes I'll be the biggest Snyder fan on that screen or on that stream, and no one asked me what I'm thinking in regards to that. And they're bringing up the toxic guys and grouping us all together, while I'm literally a square on your screen, refuting the fact that all Snyder fans are not toxic. All right, I'm literally living, breathing proof that that's not the case. I've never doxed anybody. I've never threatened anybody. I've never boycotted anything. I've seen every DC movie that's out there during all this. I've never threatened anybody. I've never done any of that stuff, and the vast majority of us have not done it and never will. You know why? We seem to be the minority sometimes, because guess what? All we do is enjoy the content for the most part and move on. All right. We don't make a lot of noise, and we don't respond to a lot of the stuff on, especially on Twitter. But it's like they go poking through the bushes and through the trees for a bear, and when they find a bear and it swats at them, now they're the victim and they're being attacked by toxic people. I'm like, what? You went hunting for trouble. You literally designed streams and interactions for trouble, and when you got it, you pointed your finger at the people who came at you. But whereas most of us are just going to see the movies, most of us just wanted to see the end to something that they began. That's it. We're just normal people. We're not like the Taliban of comic book fans. I mean, it is, and I think a lot of it is because a lot of this stuff creates clicks. It creates content for these guys. And I know some of them, and I understand what they're doing, but here's the thing: it takes two to tango. You know what? If you aren't, if you're a moderate person, don't take the bait. Hell, if you're an extremist, does taking the bait do you any good? It just makes you mad. It raises your blood pressure. It's not healthy. If somebody wants to put out RIP Snyderverse, you don't have to respond to that. You just scroll down. You don't have to respond to that. I get a laugh at it because somebody took time out of their day to go after a fan base that they're not a part of. If somebody wants to believe something that's going to continue, let them. If a grown man, like I said on another stream, if a grown man wants to believe in the Easter Bunny, is going to lay eggs on Easter Sunday for him, and he's in his 40s, great. If your 20-year-old friend wants to believe that there's 8 reindeers dragging a sled across the roof on Christmas Eve and to come down his chimney, let him. What does it matter to you? What is what somebody believes and wants to continue on and have to be faithful with you? You know what? Let them be. If they're delusional, let them be delusional. But for someone to take time out of their day to aim at those guys, I'm like, wow, who's the issue here? And I'm fully recognizing that there are toxic people out there, but who's a more significant a part of the issue? I mean, the people that are going whale hunting for them are them. Personally, you can sort of do without both. And like I said, the topic today is we have a new DC studio and 2 new DC studio heads. That's the news, and that Cavil's coming back, and that's 48 hours. Most of us moderate guys, which is the vast majority of, don't let anybody tell you any other bullshit. The vast majority of us are just regular people that are not losing our minds or anything. All right, we see that a very familiar universe that we enjoy is pretty much still in place. That's why we were so happy yesterday when we saw Henry Cavill. Because we see the fact that Jason Momoa is still Aquaman, and for the time being, Ezra Miller is still Flash. We see that a Wonder Woman casted by Zack Snyder is working on a third movie that's hopefully better than Wonder Woman 84, but we can only hope. We see that. We see that all these brand new characters are being added to or existing in the same universe. It's still there. All we're missing is an ending. And be honest with you, I can wait. With all this new stuff and all this upheaval being settled down, I can wait for my Dark Side story if it ever happens. I can wait. I am completely happy to let these two come in and paint their own tapestry. And if and when they can line something like that up towards the end down the line, I'll be even happier. But I'm living in 2022. My grievances of 2017, they're all gone now. They're all gone. They're all moved on to other companies. So let's take a deep breath and be happy. This is a happy time for guys. Listen, I watch Marvel stuff too. I don't enjoy Marvel storytelling as much as I enjoy DC. Has nothing to do with movies. That is in the DNA that is DC Comics from when I was a kid. You know, some of you guys grew up with DC animation, and I'm sorry. I grew up with The Dark Knight Returns. I grew up with Batman bloodily beating the hell out of people. I grew up with The Killing Joke. DC was always the ones to cut that edge when it came to storytelling, and they weren't afraid to do it. Marvel in the mid 80s, when I was starting to collect, was always playing it safe. They had some gritty violence and everything there, but if it wasn't selling a lot, it didn't get, it didn't get made. You had to rely on a lot of independent books. You had to rely on a lot of your Dark Horse stuff, your Eclipse stuff, a lot of that stuff if you wanted a true grittier story, or whatever Frank Miller was writing at the time, Daredevil, things like that, or Chris Claremont. So for the most part, everything else was pretty much colorful and pretty, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I had, as a horror fan growing up, I had needs that only DC Comics could fit, and it's been that way to this day. DC storytelling has always been my preference. So I'm happy to see some people, and to be honest with you, James Gunn's sensibilities line up with the kind of movies and stories I like to see. I never thought I'd say that, but more and more, I'm seeing that this guy actually has a vision that can satisfy the needs that I grew up with as a comic book fan. So yeah, I'm defending what I consider to be the majority of us. Just because there's a loud person in the room doesn't mean he's the only one in the room. Some of us just don't feel the need to scream, threaten, throw stuff at people, boycott at people, retweet, and just spread misery. The vast majority of us are people that just want to see something that was begun ended properly. That's it. But they haven't stopped going to these movies. Most of my people, Snyder Bros or whatever they have, cult members, most of my modern guys have gone to all these movies. We still support the brand content, even though the previous guys did everything they could not to take our money. We were still there. I know because a lot of them went to our screenings. All right, so we're still here. We're still here with our money out, trying to give it to people. And it now looks like there's people involved that want to take our money. Been clutching that money for 9 years now, and nobody wants to take it in the volumes that we can give it to them. So now we got a guy that understands that in Zaslav, and we have two guys who are not just guys from nowhere, though. Both of these guys have had their hands on DC projects, and I'm just looking forward to it. So I'm hoping they can be the unifying force, and just everybody can step back from the cliffs. I understand that we take this stuff seriously, but it is imaginary characters. Let's have fun with it. Replace what the what TF moments to what's next, and say what not just what's next, like, oh, what's next, like, wow, now you're starting to imagine these films in a different light, even the ones that are pre-existing and already in the can. You're starting to imagine the potential of somebody sitting and taking a look at all this and slowly putting together a puzzle that we can finally understand. So we're in a good place, man. But thanks for the comment, Ryan. All right, Stella, they are bringing Henry Cavill back, which smoothed the path for today's announcement. Yeah, and anybody, I heard on another stream that that's like The Rock was blindsided by this. The Rock was not blindsided by this. If you think The Rock didn't, come on. Like I said before, I do not think The Rock wanted that position because it would restrict his freedom in a way that The Rock, you kind of know how he is. Rock does what he wants to. But Safran worked on Shazam. That's from his production company, so they know each other. These guys know each other, And none of this stuff is a surprise to anybody involved. All right, The Rock didn't get a buzz on his phone saying, "Oh no, look what happened." No, okay, that's silly. So yeah, there's just a lot. Whenever there's big news comes out, it's up to us now. The ball is now in the court of the fans to interpret this information and news in a way that is not stupid. All right, we got a lot of really educated people on YouTube that have said and done some really stupid things in the last 48 hours in response to things that should be happy. All right, so it's up to the fandom, it's up to the consumer now. Just like when the Rock's the Black Adam movie, you know what? Critics gave it a 39%. But it was up to the fans to show their support, not fake support. People enjoyed that movie. I know people, most of the people that I went with enjoyed that movie at levels that reflect in the 90 what or 92% of the fan score. It's if you want something better than what we have, now is the time to support it. If you've been saying for 9 years that DC's a mess, it's disorganized. When someone makes a calculated effort to put this type of talent at the top of the card, it's time to support them if you like what they're doing, but give them time and space to do it. So this is where I'm at. I'm in a good mood. I'm in a happy mood because, like I said, I can just look at all this misery with a whole new light now and start to have fun with it. Remember that the 3-letter word gets left out. We analyze the hell out of this stuff and don't realize that I don't need to know how the sausage is made. If it tastes great, let's just do that. Let's just eat it. I know that's probably going to be a drop for somebody, but we sometimes focus on details that just aren't relevant to how much fun we are going to have with these things, and we add things into it and things that just don't matter to us. And I think that's what the Rotten Tomatoes score does. You had people focusing on things that just didn't matter to the people who just wanted a good time, and that's let's just have a good time. All right, so Hunter Iggy, how you doing? What do you think? We'll get a Teen Titans or Young Justice live action universe. First, I think that that's a tough one. I don't know. It all depends on where we end up with the mainline characters, because obviously with either one of those groups, it would determine the sidekick characters and how long are we going to go with these characters before we have sidekick characters that are even relevant. Like when are we? So what if this universe has a Superman, whether it's Affleck or anybody else? At what point do we get a Robin to make that Aquaman? Do we get the characters? What storylines will lead you to the partner characters that would make up something like that? And then at that point, you would probably determine between whether it's going to be Teen Titans or Young Justice. It's kind of the same in some ways or another. I think they would probably bring up something that, whatever story that they wrote would probably cover both. They would use the elements of both. So if you got a Teen Titans, it would probably have elements of Young Justice and vice versa. But I think that's a ways down the line. One of the reasons is because you have Titans on the air. Listen, I like Titans; it's a guilty pleasure. But I don't think they're. I think Titans has at least one more season after this one yet. So I don't know if they're going to be ready to put another Titans on the air right now. But who knows? But if it's I think it's a coin flip. It's a coin flip between the two because they are so similar to each other depending on the lineups. It's just a matter of where the mainline characters that they derive from go. So I wish I had a better answer, Hunter, but that's a little bit further down the line than I can see, but could happen sooner. All right, Crime Corgi. So Peacemaker said Superman has poop fetish. Yeah. That's remember who's telling the jokes here, who the narrative is coming from. It's coming from Peacemaker, who is a very, 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 very over the top character. So and now that they're in the same universe, he's probably going to have to answer for those jokes. And next time we see Peacemaker in Justice League, we won't have those shadowy bullshit cameos. We'll actually have the Justice League there. And like I said, Superman was the key. I would love to see Superman, make some type of appearance, even if it's a cameo in there. Like I said, with Peacemaker's first 3.5 episodes, I was about to give up on it. But at the end, that fourth episode of Peacemaker drew me in, and it kept me for the rest of the run. So, yeah, but yeah, don't take those jokes. And obviously, Aquaman does fish. That's the narrative is coming from Peacemaker's point of view, and you know how over the top he was. But I got a crack out of it. I hope that's not happening. I hope what's not happening. Let's go back. No, that's not the plan. Gunn is an executive now. He'll have his chances to do his own stuff every now and then. But for the most part, this is what this means. This is when you take that promotion, it's your first loyalty and your first duty is to the overall DC brand, and you'll get opportunities. This means that every DC film is going to have those two names on it as executive producers. And that's what they are. And executive producers on that scale. I think you're going to see a different side of James Gunn. I think he's up to it as long as he has that guidance of Peter Safran alongside him. And I think Peter Safran is more than capable as long as he has that creative energy that James Gunn brings. But they're not going to be directing every movie. He will be the executive producer on every movie. Just like Kevin Feige is over at Marvel. When you see all your Marvel stuff and all your Marvel shows, it says a Kevin Feige production or a Kevin Feige movie or Kevin Feige film. And that's what it's going to say. They're going to say it's a James Gunn, Peter Safran production or film because they are the executive producers now. And that role means that they are the oversight for everything going on. They will be the ones to greenlight these shows. They will be the ones to approve the budget for these shows. They will be the ones to gather the money and sit down with people who finance films, like eventually like Legendary or other production companies, and they will be the ones that sign those deals. They'll be the ones that set up the advertising campaigns. It's all going to be them now. So we're talking about operating at a different role than we've ever seen James Gunn do. And I don't think he's going to have a lot of time to direct, but they've left the door open for him to direct. So I think this is going to be a step up for him. All right, so let's make sure I don't get too far behind. Let's see. Want to make sure. All right. Hi, Kiki Speaker. I think this might be your first time on a show that I've hosted. I always wanted to tell you, dude, your name is legendary. I feel we're going in a good shape. So do I. I think we're going in an excellent direction. I think that we're going in a fun direction, and I think that there's nothing negative has come out in the next couple of days. There's been some negative stuff said, but like I said, if you can find negativity anywhere you want to find it. If you go hunting for negativity, you will find what you seek. But as things rolled out the last 48 hours, there's no real negativity there. This is all great news. All right, yes, positive. This is all positive as far as I'm concerned. All right, YouTube is starting to open the community tab for smaller channels, something that used to be only for channels of 500 subs and more. Making community posts is great. Yeah, I'm going to start doing that. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm just going to start doing that on my own page because, like I said, I'm going to start engaging a little bit more. You're going to see me do like a little 5 or 10 minute video a day. Sometimes it won't be my face because I will be doing overlays and stuff. Like we're going to do a Black Panther one. We're going to do a Black Adam one. We're going to do a Sandman one. A lot of them are going to be called As Seen on TV. The first ones we're going to do is and that's going to reflect the As Seen on TV section at the Sci-Fi Center. And if you listen to me for any length of time, I value the importance of making that connection between what we're seeing on the screens and the small screen in regards to these comic book IPs and making that connection with the customer coming through the door or who wants to join in the paper industry. Right now, comic books are not doing that great simply because the majority of people that are interested in them don't ever pick them up. And I think that it is these movies and these shows are literally living, breathing commercials for that product. And I think that information breeds familiarity, and a 2-hour movie is great, but decades of history is even greater. So we're going to start doing our 5 and 10 minute shorts on my main YouTube channel. Heartburn. So yeah, and the community page will be things that I'm going to use to be like, what do you guys want to see? what did you guys think about that, and then make announcements and everything else. So yeah, hopefully I won't be below that many subs for a long time. I'm creeping. I'm still in double digits, but a lot of it is because I spend the majority of my effort on the Point Extra Lounge and on the channel, even though we're simulcasting live. The bulk the bulk of my content has been on Enosh's channel, simply because I use the channel to get used to and get better at what we're doing, to acquire better equipment, to see exactly what I need to do, and then I'll start spreading my rings over there at the other channel. So thanks for the heads up, Vince. How you doing, Film Goblin? All right, having James Gunn involvement is a good thing for Snyderverse since he's friends with Zach, and unlike the old James, yeah, and he has a good relation. And I even heard on the flip side that somebody brought up Jared Leto, and that because James Gunn's involved and he hates Jared Leto, that you never see like things like the haircut or anything. Listen, I don't like to do a lot of cussing because this is not on my channel. That's bullshit. All right. That mentality, that broken bottom feeder mentality, works at our level, works at the Twitter level, works at the grade school level, works at the Facebook level and the YouTube level, where you can block people and get up out of the sandbox and take your toys when you can't work with other people. And the big boys and the big girls world, where we don't wear diapers until we get in our 90s, and where the adults play, liking somebody is not a prerequisite for working with them. All right. And I'll say this over and over again. If there is business to be done, business will get done. There are tons of places where us adults play where we don't, our workplaces, I bet you everybody that's watching the stream right now works with an asshole that they don't like. All right. People who play with professional sports, the Oakland A's of the 70s and the Yankees of the late 70s hated each other, but they won World Series after World Series, because you don't have to love or like the person that you work with. You need to respect their abilities. And Jared Leto is an Academy Award-winning actor. If there's business to be done with Jared Leto, whether somebody likes him or not is not going to stand in the way of that. Whether business can be done is what's going to dictate whether Jared Leto ever appears in this universe again under any circumstances. And I think that is one of the biggest problems when it comes to us fans, is we view corporate structures and studios through our eyes, and we are handicapped. We do not have that insight. We do not have that experience. We do not have those inside conversations and back office conversations that these guys talk to. We don't know where their relationships are. We see what somebody tweeted against somebody 5 years ago, and we think that is the status quo, right? That's why we're fans. That's why our names aren't on corner offices at any of these major studios, and that's cool. We play a huge part in the equation, but we are not the end game of the equation. And we view these people's relationships and, try to guess what they're going to do next. Most of the people that are spreading nonsense today didn't even know that this news was coming. So they went from being shocked that it was happening to being able to guess and forecast what's going to happen next. And it's just, we can't do it. All right. It's not that kind of science. Just recline back and let this stuff happen now. Just let it happen. And I think if we use patience and common sense will get you far more than speculation and bullshit ever did. And if there's anything that we've learned in the last 5 years, that's it. And I know that, people pay their rent off of speculation and bullshit, but what has that gotten us? Gotten us misery. Guessing this way, guessing that way. You know what? Now we're in a position, just let it happen. Let's see what James Gunn and Peter Safran have. And if it turns out to be crap, say it's crap. If it turns out to be great, say it's great. But as far as trying to speculate, even me, everything I'm saying is based on my own opinion. But my name's not Zaslav, Gunn, or Safran. So let's take that next step. But yeah, it's these guys in their relationships. It's great that they're friends, but even if they're not, once again, every one of us works with an asshole or two. Everyone has an asshole boss, but we get things done. Listen, I served in combat zones thousands of miles across the planet with people some people I could not absolutely stand. The mission got done. All right, that's what grown-ups do. All right, kids do shit like, we'll never work with that guy again. Oh, wow. But did you see that tweet? Oh boy, he'll never work with that guy again. That's bullshit. All right. That's infantile diaper shitting you know, behavior. All right. There's a good chance that most of these guys that work at this level don't like each other. But sentiments and friendships don't pay bills all the time, you know? I mean, there's been nightmare stories and books that have come after a lot of these productions saying, oh, it was hell to be on set with this guy, this guy, this guy. But you know what? You kept showing up to work, and some of you did sequels with that same guy you called an asshole. You know why? Because business gets done. All right. If there's business to be done, business will get done. YouTubers and Twitter guys like us can speculate because, we ain't dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line. We're dealing with your, YouTube channels and Twitter pages. That's nothing in comparison to the leverage that kind of money and prestige has. If there's an award to be won and a lot of money to be made, I don't care who likes who. I don't care who's banging who or whose ex is banging this or banging that or any of that. If there's money and prestige to be had, business will get done, friends or not. So I heard a lot of that nonsense today. And yeah, that's like I said, we got to start. I don't even think it's a good idea to start thinking like executives because we're not. But just understand there's an ocean-sized chasm between what we know, what we could speculate and we're right about, and what actually happens. And let those guys do it. We're just witnesses. We're, like I said, I always say, we're the people with our face pressed up against the glass, can't hear the conversation, and will never be part of the conversation. Our time comes when it's time to judge the product that they give us. And that's it. Okay, so Kinky. Gunn would have been the last director I would have thought of. Me too. I wouldn't have thought of any director, though. That's where I'm at. Because directors direct and producers produce. Executives, like I just laid out, have to do a whole lot of other stuff that a lot of directors just don't want to do because it just limits their freedom. It takes up more time than they want to be a part of, and it puts them at odds with a lot of things that, that they don't even agree with. A lot of directors and producers don't necessarily agree with corporate bosses and corporate structure. So he no director was or producer was on my mind for it. I thought it was going to be some no name, and Safran is not a no name, but he's the kind of guy that I thought would be part of that, given his resume and production. So I was, fine. But to have James Gunn on board because of that, I think having Peter Safran on board allows for a James Gunn to be there because neither one of them have to be the thing that they probably don't work as well with. That's just my opinion. So yeah, I'm with you. All right, he's going to be helping. Yeah. So that's perfect. And Safran will be the executive. Nah, this is something I've been hearing all day. I've been sampling a lot of different stuff. When I was at my office today, I just let my streams run through earlier today, as far as this goes. But I'm just hearing a lot of things like that throughout the day. Earlier in the day when this news first broke, like I was literally listening to Max's stream, Mad Max MME, when this stream broke, and then I heard a lot of things, and then I heard a lot of big people who have hundreds and thousands of followers saying some silly stuff too. So it's like, I think it's silly. So no, nothing happened. I only got a chance to listen to Jarbo's stream for a little bit while I was setting up on mine, and they were watching Grace Randolph, and I can't do the Grace Randolph thing anymore. I just can't do it. So I left for after a couple of minutes of that one. So let's see. I was looking forward to tour stream of this. Okay. Agree, disagree. You introduced levity and intelligence to the floor. Hope you have more streams on this specific. Yeah, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to keep the live stuff here, and keep the other stuff on. But I will start streaming a little bit more, especially when we get news like this, because like I said, the immediate reactions that I'm hearing, and like I said, a lot of the streams are streams that aren't in our circle, because like you guys know, a lot of our people are in our circle. The RJs, Jarbos, Max, Enoch, like that. A lot of the stuff I'm hearing, I just let it roll today just to hear, and as soon as when YouTube brings up once you search for something and you search for a response for something, it gives you a whole bunch of other stuff. And I listened to some of the mainline guys, and I looked at some of the responses, and then I looked at some of the Twitter stuff, and I'm like, oh, geez, we couldn't be happy for 20 minutes before we started speculating the fun out of things. So, ugh. All right, how you doing, Chappie? Thanks for being up late with me. How you doing, Larry? I say Gunn and Safran, give Safran a chance. I take this as good news. I hope we get some really good content moving forward. So do I. That's where I'm at. I am at the what's next phase, and in a happy way. People also forget that James Gunn and Zack Snyder are very good friends. Yes, that's a lot of people brought that up, and they are. Dawn of the Dead. I think I think James Gunn wrote the Dawn of the Dead that Zack Snyder did, if I'm not right. Still drinking. So many Cowboys return. Wow, you've been on it. You've been on it for 24 hours. Be careful there, man. All right. Yep, Cavill. All right, some here. Same here on the trigger baiting. The high road does exist for a reason. I have more than enough options to engage and not turn myself in. Yeah, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy. It's like I said, blood pressure is a dangerous thing. I got it in my family, and it's just not worth it, man. At a time we're supposed to be happy, we're coming up with nonsense, and it's like, oh, geez. And then I hear the critics, and this is not going to work. I'm like, you know what? You guys gave bad management a really long time to do mediocre things. I think I'm going to give this management a healthy swing at the bat, at the ball. If we didn't have this much of a problem, from 2013 till now, I think that we can spare ourselves a couple months or so to see how this rolls out. And but like I said, my biggest thing was like I said, there's just a lot of people that attack a certain fan base, and I always wondered why. If you don't believe in something, move on. And this is, I guess, there's a move on movement for us Snyder guys. We need to. I'm finding out about this. I was watching. I was watching Dave's stream the other day, and he brought it up, and then I looked it up. I'm like, oh, you got to be fucking kidding me. Move on. And the premise of it is we need to move on from Snyder and move on from this. I'm like, no. You know who needs to move on? You guys. The guys who come up with that shit. Move on from us. All right? Stop creating content that tries to trigger people. Stop hunting for trouble, and then pointing at the people who come after you. And I don't get that. So if anybody needs to move on, they need to move on from us. We're fine. I'm fine. I'm doing okay. I don't need to move on from anything, and I don't need anybody to tell my grown ass man self to do anything that I want to do. But that's the internet age, so hashtag that one. So yeah, so, but like I said, I'm not gonna let all that cloud the issue. The two biggest things that we've had now are Henry Cavill returning and him saying it, he's returning, and it being shared simultaneously on the major pages of Warner Brothers Pictures, DC Comics. So it's not he's not coming back, he's just negotiating. That's stupid. When you're negotiating with somebody, that somebody doesn't help you negotiate against them by spreading your news on all the major sites that they have. No, when they do that, that deal's done. All right, that deal's done, and he all but announced it. So more silliness, but yeah, just have fun with all this. I want lots of Batman. The door's open, man. The door's open. Batman Elseworld movies. We already have one. Basically, Pattinson stuff is an Elseworld story, and in my opinion. They just got to brand it that way, so I'm open to that. Let Gunn do the world building and introduce more superheroes. So when Darkseid finally arrives, we get yeah. See, 5 years ago, I felt empty as far as getting the ending that Snyder had us headed towards. But I that was without a lot of the stuff that some of the good stuff that the DC universe has been filled in, albeit mismanaged. We have things now at our disposal and characters at our disposal that I think I would like to see a part of that. We also have a different direction that can introduce even more things that can make that eventual encounter even better. And in that, we get what we want. Like I said, I don't know any moderate Snyder fan that's not happy today, because we're in a better place than we were in 2017. We're in a better place even after the Snyder Cut was released, and we had Aaron Sarnoff basically burying the fandom less than 72 hours later. We're in a much better place now to get an ending to the beginning. And it doesn't need to be something exclusive. It doesn't need to be this elephant in the room. uh, Darkseid is a reasonable, uh, unifying villain to be able to build up towards. That is a reason. It doesn't have to. You don't have to be stuck on the Snyderverse to write a ending. And now I hope they keep Ray Porter on. I hope they keep the established Darkseid, and I hope they take the established new gods that they have shown us. And because there's no reason to build something new like that when we're dealing in the same universe. So it is reasonable now that we will get that conclusion. So a guy like me, I'm happy. I'm eating at the steakhouse. I don't need to restore the Snyderverse. I just need to sit back and wait for the eventual end to happen. And you have to know what winning is. See, I think that's a lot of the problem with a lot of people. They don't understand what a win is. They let other people dictate their wins and losses. And most of us, the majority of us Snyder guys, are not ripping our screens out. We're not tearing our hair out. We're not boycotting sound scores and all that, because we're seeing, we know we were without for this long, and we are starting to get it. So you just got to understand what a victory is, and do your lap. It doesn't have to be in public. Do it in your own house. I don't care. But knowing what a win is the cure to a lot of this madness. This is going to be interesting. What in particular? The whole thing could be interesting. I wish we could get more Earth Source. So yeah. I mean, like I said, it's a new world. We might get this stuff, but we have the conversation placed now to where we can start imagining the prospects of something like this. Whereas months ago we were getting Wonder Twins. No knock on the Wonder Twins. I'm pretty sure some of you like them, but that's not what we needed right now. We needed Superman. All right. I don't need Blue Beetle right now. I'm fine with getting Blue Beetle, but I don't need Blue Beetle before Superman. All right. I don't need Batgirl when I don't know what the hell's going on with that universe's Batman. You see what I mean? When you just throw things out of the bingo chute like this, it looks like a mess. But when you take that mess and you start putting it in order, things start to look a lot better. Now I can look upon a Blue Beetle as not some, what the hell, and look at, okay, what's the potential now that I see this universe rolling towards it, and what, you could now be honest with you, as big as joke as the Wonder Twins movie would have been, if you build a mosaic like this, if you build a tapestry like this, and you decide for some comic relief or some mid-level relief, you wanted to add Jan and Gleek and Jay and all, Wonder Twin powers turn into water, whatever. If you have a credible tapestry, that's not as ridiculous as it would be. But when you have those as your mainline projects coming up, people are going to laugh at you, and rightfully so. So now, Plastic Man, give it to me. As long as you're taking care of the alphas, as long as you're taking care of the Trinity and you're taking care of the major storyline, that's why Marvel was able to put the talking raccoon in there, because they took care of their universe. Their mainline characters were fed well. All right. So when you build credibility, people give you the benefit of the doubt. You know what? Howard the Duck, absurd character, bomb of a movie. It's a joke of a character. They're able to do stuff like that because of the fact that they have a tapestry of credibility. I think these two guys can do that for DC. I really do. So I got a lot of high hopes. Like I said, they can crash and burn. They could be, the next year could be abysmal. But right now, at 1:05 a.m., I'm feeling optimistic because I think we got some high-end talent and high-end visionaries in the spot that we haven't had in 9 years now. So, and more black. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, as a comic book dealer, I am partial to DC Black Label. It's some of my best-selling DC stuff, and it takes the story where this geek, wants to go. And if you're reading comics right now, or if you've left out off of comics and you're not, you just outgrew some of the storylines and you haven't read DC Black Label, grab some DC Black Label. It'll change your mind. It'll get you back in. All of it is great. and it covers a lot of different things. Wonder Woman, Dead Earth, Three Jokers, Human Target. These are all great books, and they're high-end books, and they're done in a vein that DC was headed to in the late 80s, before things got soft. All right. Yeah, definitely. Another streams every hour. Yeah, that's what happens. Sorry, Zeno. But sometimes when news breaks and I don't get a chance to really jump in and say anything because I'm doing other things when these guys are doing their prime time stuff. So this is my chance to unwind and talk to people. Haven't had a chance to do it. I know there's other streams, but sometimes when there's big news or like Comic Cons and stuff, yeah, there's you can just let your YouTube automatically roll into it. Yeah, got to celebrate. William, did you see the lady? Yes, I did. Wasn't expecting that. And a lot of people were like, kind of torn about that. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't watched Doctor Who, but say there's some familiarity to the way that ended. But it's temporary, so but it's neat to see. But it is temporary, and it's going to end when the 60th comes around because we already know that we have a new doctor. So, Dr. Faithful, yeah, I think I have that one. I have them all. I have the Hawkman one. I have a picture on my Instagram where we gave away the Hawkman and the Black Adam one at our screening. All right, we better get a Dr. Fate prequel. A Dr. Fate prequel, or I wouldn't mind seeing the next guy in the helmet. I mean, but I take either one. Dr. Fate is a very intriguing character, so we actually have positive stuff to talk about. Dino, how are you doing? Yeah, how are you doing, Zeno? The Rock knows what's up. Yeah, the Rock has his pulse on things a little bit better than previous guys have. All right, Chappie, they definitely a great chance. Definitely a great. Well, I can't talk. Let's start over again. Definitely a great chance that we can get that air cut of Suicide Squad now that James Gunn is the co-head of DC Studios, and he's also been very supportive. Yeah, like I've said before, if we're going to release the air cut, then we need to do that in development as far as the finish of the storyline that particular Joker came in. To me, business-wise, just releasing the air cut doesn't make a lot of business sense unless we are going to tell that latter story of what Jared Leto's Joker is. Because the only reason when you saw they added that in later on, but the development of that Joker there's a lot of development in that Joker that makes the latter stages of that Joker understandable. Same thing with Harley Quinn. And remember, the original Suicide Squad made a lot of money. So I don't know if we'll see it again, but hey, you know what? Put it on HBO Max. From what I heard, Eric said it wouldn't cost very much to get it done. So put it on HBO Max, and why not? If it's not an absorbent amount of money to get done and there's nothing to lose, it's different with the Snyder Cut because it costs upwards of $70 million. But to be honest with you, $70 million is a drop in the bucket when you're getting the kind of hype that they got from it. So, yeah, a lot of people are talking air cut today. So you know what? Those people, you can have the same type of hope that all of us had when we get new management. So you guys can continue to hope. Yeah, I'm streaming. How you doing, Daniel? I'm streaming a little bit more regularly. Like I said, I was going to take a day off. I wasn't going to be on the day, but David Zaslav decided otherwise. And like I said, I got a lot of messages, a lot of Facebook messages, a lot of Instagram messages asking me what I thought. And if you was, for anybody who cares about what I thought, this is what, this was my time to express that. So I thought I'd jump on tonight. Let's see. Yeah. You know what? Like I said, more power to Grace Randolph for having 1 million followers and doing all that. She's just not my cup of tea. I'm not a fan simply because it's not just news. It's not just content. Sometimes I think it's personal. And when I hear some of her opinions and some of the context that she says, it just sounds like it's personal. And once it's personal, I can no longer listen to you as an objective content provider. As someone, if it's a hate stream, that's fine. I just turn you off. But when you're a person that's, supposed to be bringing out and giving legitimate news, and I hear twinges of personal issues, like Jessica Chastain, she can't stand her. I should not know if you're the person that's presenting me that type of news. I should not know who you love or hate on a personal basis, or who you have a grudge with. I have a problem with that. So a lot of people listen to her. A lot of people add her content to the screens, and refer to her. I try not to because I think she's one of the biggest broadcasters of bad will out there. It's just simple because it sounds personal. And if she was just going to do an editorial stream, that's one thing. But it's like this with the Cavill stuff. And you guys have seen it. You guys have seen her tweets, and you guys. I mean, she said Cavill had no loyalty today. I'm like, how do you say that about someone? So yeah, I can't do the whole the Grace thing anymore. And a lot of times, even normal YouTubers that I do watch, as soon as they start streaming her, I got to get off. I got to turn my YouTube off or switch to a different channel. I just can't. I can't do her anymore. All right, what do you guys think of the mystery project is? For the first time, I don't know, and I'm excited to not know. I have no idea. I know that's not the answer you want to hear, Larry. I have no idea, and I'm happy to not know. I'm excited to hear the announcement, though. You know what? I'm just excited. It could be anything. Who knows? Maybe we're getting all this is lining up towards James Gunn Superman, which a lot of people were making fun of today. Like, it's going to be Superman with dick jokes. No, I actually believe that James Gunn could write a deep, in-depth. Say what you want about Peacemaker. Peacemaker showed you that he can make a connection. Here's a question you have to answer yourself. When it comes to someone being able to narrate and direct and write and produce something like that, especially superhero content, did they make you care about the story? With Peacemaker, it was a yes. Did they make you care about the evolution of the characters? And that's a double yes. I did not give a rat's ass about Christopher, whatever his name was, Christopher Smith. I did not care about this fool with the toilet bowl on his. I did not give a rat's ass. I was watching it going through the motions. At the end of the day, I cared a little bit about just about everybody in that story. I cared about their evolution, and I cared about what happened to them. And I cared about the overall narrative that he presented very well, that these people have lived these horrible lives and done these horrible things. And just in the furtherance of their jobs and what they thought they wanted to be. And now they're all stopping to look at their lives, and they don't like what they see. And they're using this mission to build something better, even if it means them being killed and risking their lives in content. That's what he took me from a goofy, boneheaded, toilet bowl wearing head guy to somebody whose evolution I actually cared about. And when you can do that, you can apply those dynamics and those tools to any superhero. What he did in Peacemaker, he can apply to varying degrees to any superhero out there. They don't all have the jokes, don't all have to be there. He can make that adjustment. Anybody who can tell the story he told in Peacemaker can make the comedy adjustments that be needed to make a Superman movie. So if James Gunn were to come out and say, I'm doing a Superman movie, I can't wait for the shitstorm that'll come after that. But this Superman fan will be very interested to see what he comes out with, and I think he could pull it off. That's just me personally, but who knows what that mystery project is? I mean, I would like I said, it could be another B character, but I would like to see him move on to the A-list characters. That's just my opinion. All right, Zito. Well, I'm nothing but hype for DC movies now that Gunn is on board. Yeah, I mean, it's just fun, man. It's just fun. We get to start. One of these streams is we're going to get to where we don't have the negativity of all. And like I said, be truthful. If we see something we don't like, we'll it's like Black Adam. Even though a lot of us had fun, there were some issues with the movie. It wasn't perfect. And a lot of people, in their opinions, have been objective about it. Even if they said I had fun, it was a fresh or whatever. I'm not saying that just because these guys are here, just be like, oh, everything is great. But I'm happy to grow with this regime now. I'm happy to go through the bumps with these guys and see. I just was not happy with what was being shown to me, and I'm happy for the fact that they have their pulse on what we're thinking to the point. Like I said, we're not going to get everything we want. That's ridiculous to even think. But we're going to get a good. We're going to be in consideration. A lot of us wanted Superman. It wasn't just a small number of us. A lot of us wanted Superman back. We wanted Cavill back and Superman back. Now we got him. Don't know what direction they're going to take him in, but you know what? They met me halfway. When you, as the content provider and the producer and the maker of this stuff, move in my direction, I move in your direction with my money. That's how this works. All right? It's a symbiotic relationship to where we work with each other to complete the circle of entertainment. I'm not going to get everything I want to. That would be boring. But if if I know you're taking me on a really kick-ass ride, and you know, I'm there. I'm there. Take the cash, you know. So yeah, I'm hyped for DC movies now. I hope they do something with the comic book division right now. I hope both Marvel and DC do something with their comic book divisions right now. I don't think that either company, in my opinion, has met the moment that their studios have. I am going to repeat that. I do not think Marvel Comics or DC Comics has met the moment of connecting those IPs and the hype of those IPs to their paper medium, and that's a damn shame. Let's see, Larry. It's time for it's time. Jade, the project might be another Suicide Squad movie, which, like I said, and that's another thing. Adds to my dynamic of thinking and believing that James Gunn can pull off several things, even though we haven't seen him do all of those things. I cared about the characters in Suicide Squad. These are throwaway characters. I cared about Starro. I felt for Starro as he was dying. When Starro says, you know, I was happy floating, looking at the stars, just as he dies. And you get that sense that yes, he was portrayed as this monster and a villain. They just killed him, but he was brought there. He was forced there. Peter Capaldi's character, the Thinker, whatever he was called, he corrupted this thing, and even this big goofy monstrous star stomping on people through the streets, you felt something for even that character. So I that's why I always think that I look forward to what James Gunn can do, and not just him writing and directing stuff. I look forward to that vision that he can impart on another director, on another producer, and that freedom that he can give to another director, producer, or actor. I'm looking forward to him taking the things that made him a talented director and seeing how he conveys that to get what he wants out of a group of people that are making a movie for him. So it's going to be a good ride. All right, Chappie. By the way, question was your movie theater experience for when you saw Justice League, and what was it like, Mark? Chappie, when I'm on again, remind me or send me a message and remind me to bring up the pictures or have the pictures ready for the marketing campaign we did for Justice League. I still have stuff at the store from Justice League. All right. We had posters and t-shirts for a 2017 theatrical release that did not have Superman on them. I have a picture of the posters and stuff, Alex Ross stuff, that did not have Superman on it. And we all knew that Superman was coming back in that movie, even though he had died previously. You did not need to hide Superman in there. Later on, towards the end of the campaign, we got more stuff that had Cavill in it towards the end, but it was too late. The oldest superhero in the world was left out of the marketing campaign. The theater experience was mostly good because, remember, this is years ago. A lot of the stuff that we know now, we did not know that there was things going on. As we analyze that movie later, that's when I started to seek out people like Chris Wong Swinton and Dave the Film Junkie because we knew something was missing with that movie. And that was just based on the commercials and the reels that we had seen. There were things that were missing from there that changed the entire brevity of the story. So yeah, it was tough to market. It was different. As the more time that we moved on beyond the actual release of the movie, the worse it got. The worse it got. The more we found out, the worse it got. But yeah, remind me to bring up the pictures of the merchandise and stuff that we got for that movie. And like I said, I still have Justice League pins. Now, I keep the Justice League pins now because since then, Zack Snyder's Justice League has been released, and those pins are applicable to that. So, but yeah, we will remind me, Chappie. We will discuss that in length at a later date, and I will have those pictures ready for you. And you're going to be, it's breathtaking to see the millions that they spent on the advertising campaign without Superman. Really happened. All right, Larry, couldn't be happier until, you know what? Like I said, I don't know if we're going to get that. I would take it in a heartbeat. I would love if they had it. But I am okay with them just intertwining what would eventually have happened with that war and that conflict into whatever they're doing. If they do that, that's a win for me. And if Zach's part of it, that's a double win. But right now, I'm taking these small wins and I'm running with them. All right, crossing over. I think that's going to happen. I think that's definitely going to happen. Definitely, like I said, we've already seen a couple of new gods. Everything that you saw, and even in the Justice League one, Steppenwolf is a new god. You saw several other new gods from Apocalypse and Zack Snyder's Justice League. I am looking forward to seeing the other new gods from High Garden and Orion and all these other guys. And I can't think right now. But I'm looking forward to seeing all the new gods further down the line. But we've already seen one, and I think that you should stick on that same road. But I'm willing to wait because their storyline probably should come later on after you've reestablished everybody. And we've already got whatever continuity you want to adopt, whether it's Justice League or Zack Snyder's Justice League. We already have a reprieve from Darkseid's eventual arrival. It's going to take him a while because remember. New Genesis and Apocalypse exist outside of the multiverse, and he's got to find a way to get here. And since he couldn't, Steppenwolf was defeated before he could create a means for him to do so. He has to use an armada, and he's got to find a way to travel from Apocalypse to Earth. And they're not in the same reality. They're not in the same dimension. If they go by the comic books, if they just say that Apocalypse is really far away, then it's just going to be a matter of time. But if they go by the comic books and the boom tubes going into that universe and all the size differentials, it should take him a considerable amount of time to get to Earth again, and that should give all this new creative team a lot of time to decide how they want to line up with that final conflict. If they ever do, if they do, all my boxes are checked. I've gotten my ending to the story that they began way back in Batman versus Superman. I will have my ending to that. If they build in those realities, I think that those realities are just too exquisite not to. So I think as we get going and we give them more time, we're going to get the stuff that we've been waiting for. So I'm ready for it. All right, the Peacemaker's sense of humor, his sense of reality. Yeah. Like I said, having the story told from his point of view is, But like I said, I think towards the end there, they did a real good job of showing you the consequences of how he treats people, and the consequences of his relationships with his father and how he grew up, and the consequences of his dad just being an absolute piece of trash, and the death of his brother. And even there was moments where Vigilante, who I thought was Freddie Strowman, played him great. He just was this complete goofball for the whole time. And then that one moment in the prison where he's trying to help and he realizes all he does is make things worse. All these characters are trying to redeem themselves and make themselves better than what they started to see. And that's the one thing about that series I really enjoyed. And I'm glad that I gave it as much time as I did because it turned out well for me. I was really happy with that series once it was over with. All right. So remember that Gunn wanted them all there. WB made him cut out Beb. Yeah, just remember that. Difference between bad management and good management is starting to become more clear. Us guys that were always telling you guys this is because it's bad management, we no longer have to waste a lot of our energy because you see the contrast in just in a few months that Zazov has had the company, 5-6 months now. He's done more in 5 or 6 months than the regime did in the last 5 years. So good there. Crossing my fingers, hopefully that Warner Brothers Discovery get Ray Fisher back as Cyborg now that Ralston Ahmad is gone. I can't really comment on this situation because I don't know the dynamics between. I don't know everything. I know Ray Fisher, and I have no reason to think that he lied. But whenever it comes into a legal confrontation and things like this, there's always more details and stuff that even if you're coming into an inherited situation, the question is, do they want to inherit that energy? I hope they, for continuity purposes, that the cyborg that I saw is the cyborg that wraps up the story. I hope that is the case. But once again, I can't say for sure that that's what Zaslav and them will do. They may just want to steer clear of this situation. And that's right. There's no right or wrong there. They have the right to start anew. They have the right to take a look at a situation and be like, wow, there's a lot of heat there. We don't know if we want to touch that. We're trying to create this new thing. But at the other end, he was a big part of that story. Don't have any insight of which way that they will go. I hope to see Ray Fisher again. So I'm crossing my fingers too. All right, we need Fisher. Here we go. We need Fisher back 100%. And like I said, he was if you watch the Justice League and you watch Zack Snyder's Justice League, you see him being the engine that drives a lot of that movie, and to have him taken out of there, it kind of sucked. I'm glad that we got to see a version of with him in it. Him not liking Leto won't stop Eric. No, it won't. And be honest with you, it won't stop these guys from working with Leto again. Once again, these are grown men. All of them are in their 50s. They're not us, and they're not little kids, throwing sand at each other, fighting over the remote or something like that. These are grown men that are running businesses and corporations, and grudges are expensive. That's why you don't see a lot of them. Nobody ever says never. So, and that a lot of that stuff happened like 5 years ago. And like I said, if there's business to be done, business usually gets done. All right. Grudges don't pay bills, and grudges don't finance films. Aaron Pritchard, hey William, whew, it would be good if you did a video tour of your store. I am going to do that. We're working on that right now. We are working on that right now for the YouTube channel. We're working on that right now for to do before the holidays and just to have as a permanent fixture on there, because a lot of our merchandise changes, and we are under a massive remodel that we're in the process of fixing a lot of the stores and creating sections of the store that were not there at the beginning. And that's definitely being worked on right now. We also are doing it for our website as well, so you can do a virtual tour and you can take your mouse and click on a piece of merchandise and actually buy the merchandise off the shelf, and it'll let us know, and we'll take it off there for you. So we're working on a lot of things right now, man. I am embracing the technological age. But Aaron, that is definitely on the way. Newsflash: ABC News just announced that Disney Plus and the BBC are joining forces to bring Doctor Who to global audience. Yeah, I saw that this afternoon. I have BBC America, so that's all I've ever needed. So I hope that doesn't disrupt that. But we'll talk about that this Friday, because that is kind of big news for. And I'm a Doctor Who fan. For those of you who guys don't know, I have seen every single episode of Doctor Who. We showed Doctor Who's all the episodes at the store one time. We started getting people into Doctor Who with the very first, The Earthly Child. We started with the very first one, and every week we would gather people together to watch Doctor Who until we ran out of new episodes to watch. My favorite Doctor Who is Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor. I think the best stories were written for him. I think the best supporting cast was for him. And then my second one will be David Tennant, who was the 10th Doctor. I enjoyed his 5-year run. I thought he had some of the best stories, and I thought the show was handled in a great way for those two Doctors. I like all the other Doctors, but it's those two Doctors, especially their importance to where Doctor Who is now. When Sci-Fi Channel bought Doctor Who back in 2005, after it had been off the air for quite a while, with the exception of one little movie, that created what was called Sci-Friday, when Sci-Fi Channel was actually the Sci-Fi Channel, and it showed things like Stargate Atlantis, and Doctor Who, and that is what happened. That's how that got bought back to America. So I have a soft spot in my heart for these recent Doctors. Even Peter Capaldi did a great Doctor Who, and what's her face? Jodie, can't remember her name now. She did fine. I didn't think the story around her was very strong, but I think she did the best she could. So, all right, Larry, people can work together even if they don't like each other. But yeah, it happens every day. You go into the Walmart, you think those people all like each other? No. All right, go to Home Depot. You think the people working in the same aisle each other could hate each other? It doesn't matter. Baseball teams. My Lakers, Shaq and Kobe were constantly at each other's throat while they were winning champions. Everywhere Reggie Jackson went, he was pretty much a jerk, but he was a winner. All right. People don't, it's not like I said, it's not like YouTube or Twitter where you can block somebody and just move on. or you can just click the X and get rid of them off the screen or mute them or whatever. If you're in a situation where the mission and the money is more important than your ego, business will get done. That's all I'll say about that. Film Goblin, funny how we went from Ray Fisher not wanting to work with Walter Amada to Jared Leto won't work with James Gunn. Now it never ends, and it comes from people who just are speculating. They're aligning how things would work, if they didn't like somebody on YouTube or Twitter. All right, but even in their own lives, most of these people are saying that in their own lives, they are working next to people that they don't like for the most part. And guess what? Does the business shut down? No. Does the sports team not take the field because half the athletes hate each other? No. You'll write a book afterwards on how horrible the experiences was, but while you're on that field, while you're in that job behind that counter, you're going to do your job, right? It's that much, I think. So yeah. All right. Doesn't Leto also have actual allegation, unlike Gunn, who made some bad jokes? I've heard allegations, but I never found, I heard a lot of rumors, and especially, him being in role to, him being in character too much where he disturbs people, sending rats and stuff. I don't know the details of Leto's allegations. I don't think they ever rose to the level of actual things you would have to act on, but, I'd have to do the research on that, so I don't want to. All right, Triton K175. Until they announce the air cuts, Snyder's jail sequels, and Batfleck solo film, this doesn't change anything for me. I thought Gunn Suicide Squad was abhorrent, and Safran gave us crap like Shazam. Shazam was okay. I'm gonna have to disagree with you a little bit. I love Shazam. James Gunn's Suicide Squad. I actually like that movie, and this is an absolutist point of view. And to just be 100% honest with you, Triton, you're headed for a lot of dissatisfaction. Like I said before, we got to take the wins where we can get them. The air cut is somebody who would support it doesn't make sense at the moment. It just doesn't make. Where's it going? All right, Zack Snyder's Justice League sequels. Like I said, within the 5 years that I've gone without them, I felt the same way as you do now. But I think what's going to end up happening is that the reality that would have been expressed in those sequels will get intertwined into the story that happens now. Batfleck solo film, like I said, you can say that because it's just your opinion and subjective. But everything that you're saying that didn't happen under a different management group. You can't necessarily expect a brand new management group to be shoehorned by things that may not fit right now. You could probably get all these things that you've listed within context and within a schedule that doesn't stunt that we can't come into 2022, 2023 with a 2017 mindset. We have to see where these realities fit now, regardless to who is running the company. Whoever came on in the company wasn't automatically going to do Justice League 2 and 3 and Batfleck and all that because it doesn't fit now. You have to prime and settle and firm the ground up that we're standing on in order for anything that you're wanting to work. Otherwise, it's not going to be accepted well. We have an entirely new audience that's been brought on since any of these movies were made. We have to do surgery, all right? We have to perform with a scalpel and not a hatchet. So I understand where you're coming from because I've lived the suffering for this amount of time. But you have to understand that there's a way to get what we want, and by just waiting for it to fall into place. All of our pieces are in place, all right? All of our actors are in place. And the environment is being primed for some of these people to come back. And we have people in place now that are a little bit more open-minded. You can't say nothing's changed when you literally had Cavill Superman put front and center with the new management, and you weren't getting that with the old. So all I say is try and just patience. Patience. I think if we wait this out, we've been waiting 5 years. We're still here. I think we can wait a little bit longer. I think things are gonna happen for us. I'm about air cut coming out. Just saying, like I said, me personally, I want the air cut to come out as a precursor to the storyline it was designed to lead into. But if they put it out, I'll watch it. If they put it out, I'm there. I'm not going to not support it. I'm not going to go against it, um, but even still, you got a better chance now. Will we be talking about the air cut even having a shot in hell being released 8 months ago under the old circus? Nah. So that alone, right there, shows you we're in a different world, and we're moving along. We're making progress. Let it happen. Yeah, I mean, just let it get. Um, I like I said, there are certain goofy elements. I mean, obviously, I'm a little bit biased about Shazam that probably didn't work for some people. I like the family dynamic. I like the fact that I like the story it told. This guy constantly not having this kid having no self worth because he's looking for his mother, looking for his mother. He gets this adopted family that's a bunch of really cool people, and he just treats them like garbage, just treats them like crap. And when he finally finds his mother and realizes that she had no regard for him, she abandoned him, and that the people that he had been fostered with embraced him a lot more than the one who gave birth to him did. And then he decides that that's his family and that's what he's going to fight for. I love that movie. I just felt really good when I left that movie. Should it, who knows, should it have been made before a Superman movie? And that's what hurts a lot of the stuff that the old regime did. Some of it wasn't really bad, but every time you release one of these movies, where's Superman? Every time you release somebody who's flying around with a cape, where's Superman? Every time you release some other crime fighting movie, where's Batman? So everything that they did was undermined by the fact that they never did us right by those characters. We don't have to worry about that now. So, but I love Shazam. I'm sorry, like I said, but I like Titans too. So, but I like Shazam. I thought Shazam was a good movie, and I think a lot of people look at it negatively sometimes because it's not Superman. Same thing that might hurt Black Adam from making big money that some stuff sees want. It's not Superman. We got a guy flying around in a cape with superpowers, and the first question I get, where's Superman? We don't have to answer that question no more. We know Big Cheese is there. So, all right, I actually like the Suicide. I liked both. I actually like that version of the horribly edited version, but I will more than likely like David Ayer's version better than the video game one cut up. And the Suicide Squad, like I said, I just finished pointing out some of the things I liked about that. But like I said, films are subjective. Films are subjective. So you not liking Shazam, Triton doesn't make you an asshole. We could be sitting in the same theater and come out with two different things, and that's the cool thing about it. If these things hit us, these movies strike us differently. We could be sitting. I could be sitting and watching Blade Runner 2049 next to a bunch of people who will get out and say, "Hey, that's a really good movie." All right, next. Whereas I will be down on my hands and knees praying to the God of Ridley Scott to make more. Every movie affects someone differently, whether it be when they see it or how they feel when they're going in to watch it, or what it reminds them of, or just how the connection that director made with them. So I love Shazam, but I know people who don't like it, and I'm okay with them as well. So, all right, let's see. All right, we're still talking Doctor Who. I will agree with the headless Superman, but we now know why. We know why we couldn't get a headed Superman. Like I said, that's a valid opinion. Yeah, there was gore. There was gore there, but I also thought there was story there. I also thought, hell, even dude, he made me care for Polka Dot Man. That was not on the bingo card when I went to go see that movie. When I first saw the ridiculousness of that character, he made me care about Polka Dot Man. They killed him, but Yeah, William Hartnell stuff was taped. Back in the old days, history lesson when it comes to Doctor Who, they taped things, and they had limited amount of tape. Tape was expensive, so when they needed to do new programming, they would tape over it. So when you watch some of the classic Doctor Who stuff, some of them have sock puppets in it because scenes are missing. Some of them have claymation or cartoons in place of what was filmed because BBC back in 1963, they weren't thinking 50 years and 60 years. down the line. They were, they just weren't thinking that way. They had weekly live programming and weekly programming that they had to broadcast, and they taped over a lot of that stuff. And Hartnell being the first Doctor, a lot of his stuff, and number 2 and 3, a lot of their stuff, like the first appearance of the Cybermen, which is called a Forbidden Planet or Forgotten Planet, something like that. And it's episode 9 of season 1. And those episodes are a lot of the scenes in those episodes have been replaced by cartoons because they had to tape over them. So yeah, unfortunately, a lot of that stuff was lost just to the fact that it was taped. Yeah, that'll, like I said, just let these things happen. Now they definitely a great chance we can see Ben Affleck back. Hopefully, like I said, the door is open. The door is open, and the chessboard has been set. Now we just let these guys that just got named and put into position to move those chess pieces about the board. Just let them do it. Let them do it. And we're not witnesses to what they're doing. And, like I said, we get a lot of people back. Hopefully we get, there's some people who want Christopher Nolan back. Maybe Legendary Films, who didn't have a good relationship with the previous regime, will have a better one with these guys. Up to and including Zack Snyder. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be back tomorrow, and I don't know what he would do if he got here. But as long as they are creating an environment that these creators feel like is home, the possibilities are endless. You can't. Nobody's off the table. Nobody. When you're creating an environment that people and fans want or are looking forward to watching, and creators are looking forward to being a part of, there's nobody that you guys bring up that is completely off the table. And that's what they're doing right now. And I'm willing to wait for them to finish that up. So, all right. So let's see. All right, guys. I think I've gone through a lot of these questions right now, and it is actually 1:43 in the morning. Dude, I only meant to stay on an hour. That's another thing I got to get under control, guys. I get to run in my mouth, and an hour, it turns into an hour and 40 minutes. I still haven't eaten my dinner. I still got my burger sitting here, and my mouth is getting dry, even though I've been drinking. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up now. Thank you for everybody who continues to go on this really late night, early morning journey with us whenever we get a chance to do it. We will, I am making it a point to do this more and more and more. Like I said, they may not, we won't always have breaking news like this or, a big topic to talk about. However, we'll always have something to talk about. We'll always have something to talk about. I just am looking forward to the conversation moving in a direction to where we're all just having fun. We're no longer talking about a lot of the stuff that we're happening with. And I think I cannot wait. I cannot wait until we get into the movies where this regime is there for the first step of production, where they come up with it. Say if it's a Green Lantern movie. So when they start the Green Lantern movie, it's done completely under this regime, under these guys, and under the guidance of these people. I can't wait to see, a Black Adam 2 or Black Adam versus Superman with these people from being there from day one and not having to inherit anything else that someone else has done. I'm looking forward to the things that they are adding on to the movies that are existing that they did inherit to line them up with their greater overall vision. I'm looking forward to all of that. I am entering these days with DC with a sense of wonderment and a sense of hope that I have not had the entire time that they've been making this level of movies. So we're in a different place now. I think, like I said, if we waited out the nonsense that we had to endure. Now we just have to wait for the good stuff to happen. We took our bruises when they had that previous regime in that just didn't really align well with us, and really thought of a lot of us, whether they be extremists or not, as the enemy. I mean, they spoke about us in broad terms. Like a lot of people speak about us in broad terms. You know what? They listened to the extremists and let them dictate their pace, but they didn't listen to us. You know, we were never the enemy. I mean, you know, like I said, all I ever wanted to do was hand DC Films money for a product, and they just ran away from me and didn't want to take it. We got guys now that want to take that cash. We got guys now that want to make these characters as important to them as they are to us. They understand the importance of Superman. If there's anything that you can take away from the last 48 hours, is that there is somebody in the throne of Warner Brothers that understands the prestige and the importance of the Man of Steel. All right. And there's somebody behind that desk now who understands the importance of putting someone in charge of DC Films that understands the IPs and that can tell a story with these IPs. So, like I said, took a while to get here, but we're here. We're here. Now I just got to ask my fellow fans just to step back and enjoy it. You know, let's step back and enjoy what I think is about to be a nice ride. So thank you for everybody for being here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you guys for your questions and your input. That's, so I'm just not here talking, blowing smoke through my nose. And like I said, it's just a matter of having fun and uplifting. Uplift your fellow fans too, by the way. There's a lot of people down there in this atmosphere, in this community that, like I said, that target fans of other fans. If they don't like something or they don't think something that exists and they can't cope with somebody else wanting that to exist, lift up your other fans. Even if you don't like what they are into, you know what? Just appreciate the fact that there's a conversation being had. You know what? It doesn't always have to be like, we had a guy in there just right now who didn't like Suicide Squad, didn't like Shazam, but we had a cordial exchange. That's it. Just be grateful that there's a conversation to be had at all. It wasn't always like this. Us geeks weren't always accepted in communities. Now it's cool. Now we're cosplay and everything else. But remember, if you've been around a while, you understand that wearing a shirt like this, get your ass kicked. Now, granted, I was a little bit of a large kid, and it probably would have endangered your safety to harm me in this shirt. But other geeks that got picked on and beat on just for being a geek, just for being a nerd, just for being into Superman, just for being into Batman, just for reading comics, we were outcasts. Look at us now. We got this YouTube thing. We can click on, and people from thousands of miles can talk to each other and at 2-3 o'clock in the morning across, time zones. So have these conversations, but just when you get to that level where you just want to start exclamation point and all caps and block and all that, understand that this is a gift we have, and the gift of conversation. Random encounters is something that we should embrace, not destroy. All right, that's all I got. And thank you for everybody that is here. Thank you for everybody who will be here. Thank you for everybody who will watch this on the replay. And I'm out.